What's going on? It's your Council Poly Rob. Welcome to another episode of the Poly Rob podcast. I appreciate everybody showing love. Make sure you like and subscribe. And all the information on how to support my channel is right below at the bottom. First, I want to give a shout out to my latest subscribers. Let's go ahead and put that up on the board, put that up on the screen. Salute to you guys. You know what I mean? Let's get right into it. Mac 10 was at a performance at a concert, Cali Love 3. And he was on stage and he mentioned and talked about the Westside Connection.
See up here a couple of weeks ago. And that nigga said some positive shit, you know what I'm saying? About the group situation, you know. But I got love for Dub C too, though. You feel me? Hey, and to keep it all the way real, I got love for Ice Cube too. Because I'm one of them niggas that's too blessed to be mad at any motherfucking body. You feel me? Hey, fuck being mad about some 25-year-old shit. Hey, check this out. Look.
Give us one more.
One more? Hey. If I do one more some Westside Connection, y'all gotta do it with me like my niggas is up here with me.
Is there a possibility for a Westside Connection reunion? Can we get a Westside Connection reunion for the one time? Listen, you had to be there. There's some albums, there's some projects, there's some experiences where you had to be there. You had to understand that the Westside Connection, Ice Cube, Dub C, Mac 10 came together for an album, for a movement that happened when, to be honest, the East Coast was killing. The East Coast was going crazy. They was going nuts. We just finished getting the Wu-Tang era, the Nas era, the Jay-Z era, the Biggie era, the Puff Daddy, the Busta Rhymes. We was getting so much hot fire music from the East Coast. It was ridiculous. It was also a time where they would say that there wasn't a lot of West Coast representation, or there wasn't a lot of media covering West Coast music, or there was a lot of stations that's on the East Coast and in the South that wouldn't play West Coast records. All of these things was happening at the same time. The West Coast wasn't getting no love, and then all of a sudden, Ice Cube, Dub C, Mac 10 teamed up together to create what is called the Westside Connection, which in my opinion was what set off the next era of West Coast dominance. Because there was an era before that. There was the Cubes, there was the NWAs, there was the Too Shorts, there was the Eazy-E's. That was an era, but then Ice Cube came back with another West Coast run. When I first heard that Westside Slaughterhouse, still one of the best lyrical West Coast records, one of the best posse cut style records, one of the best beats I've probably ever heard. When they did Westside Slaughterhouse, that was a monster. Now you got to remember, and we'll talk about, Mac 10 showing love and finally it's almost coming to a point where they can at least reconcile, at least to just have a conversation. But we'll get to that. When Westside Slaughterhouse dropped, you got to remember, I am someone who has lived on both coasts. I've lived in Brooklyn, New York. That's home for me. I've lived in Inglewood, California. That is also home for me. I've spent a vast amount of time in both places. So I don't have a bias to either side, but when I hear East Coast artists taking shots at West Coast artists, I feel a type of way. When I hear West Coast artists taking shots at East Coast artists, I feel a type of way. I'll be happy and mad at the same time. I remember listening to Westside Slaughterhouse, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God. The West Coast got something to say, and they got something to say for real. Those dudes passing verses every 4 bars, every 8 bars, they going nuts, and they dissing for real. See, that's the one thing about West Coast artists. When they diss for real. They naming names, they naming street corners, they talking trash, they saying it all. This is post No Vaseline, so you know Ice Cube coming with that fire. Mac 10 at that time was a very new artist that was shaking the scene up in Inglewood. Dub C, legendary classic. I don't understand how Dub C keeps refreshing himself like every 10 years. In that time with the Westside Connection, he already did Dub C in the Mad Circle. He already did a whole era full of that and came back with the Westside Connection for another era. Then he dropped his own album, Classic, again. And we'll get to that in another blog. But what I'm saying is, the Westside Connection shook the world. One of those albums that was being played everywhere, East Coast, West Coast, the South, it didn't matter. And it was about real representation for the West Coast. It wasn't necessarily trying to diss nobody else. It was saying they are proud to be from the West, and you will hear this forever. That first album, Bow Down, it's just something about certain albums. It's something about certain albums that you feel a certain type of way. Even if you're not from the West Coast, even if you have not lived on the West, even if you're from somewhere else, you felt the energy and the pride from that album. From Gangsters Make the World Go Round to Bow Down to 3-Time Felons, it's so many records. I'm about to play that album on my midday walk tomorrow for sure. That album was that powerful. And then on top of that, having the backing of the radio station. The radio stations loving it. The production on the album, phenomenal. Not a lot of features, but it did what it did. It didn't have to have a lot of features. It really didn't have no features, to be honest. There was a lot of dissing on there. There was a lot of taking shots. There was a lot of addressing certain things. What a natural West Coast artist would do. So when Mac 10 goes on stage and says, hey, man, I got a lot of love for Dub C. And oh, by the way, I got a lot of love for Ice Cube, too. You know, there's been speculation about why they was beefing. I'm not going to get into all of that. Just know that there's been a 25-year disagreement or miscommunication. And they've been beefing for whatever reason, but at least getting to a point where they could at least talk proudly about what they created and then also possibly move forward because, man, when I tell you, if you're a West Coast artist that loves West Coast, I'm sorry, let me say, if you're a fan of West Coast music and you're a fan of West Coast artists, Westside Connection, Bow Down is on your list of records you will always revisit and a show that you will definitely pay for. You're going to pay for Ice Cube, Dub C, and Mac 10 Westside Connection concert. You're going to pay for that tour. It's happening. The money's already out of your bank account already. The money's already gone. If they ever get to a point where they can reconcile their differences and do another concert or a tour, your money already gone. And I think they know that. Whatever they went through, groups go through it. You know what I'm saying? It happens. Groups go through it. I'm not here to dwell on that, but I'm not going to lie. I got super excited when Mac 10 got on stage and said what he said. Because just the thought, see, my West Coast energy is coming out. Just the thought of those three guys being on stage at the same time, it sends chills through West Coast hip hop. It sends chills through West Coast hip hop. That's like seeing Wu-Tang on stage. That's like getting a chance to see Prodigy, rest in peace, and Havoc from Mobb Deep on stage again. That's like being able to see Tribe Called Quest one more time on stage. I am a big fan of finding a way for artists and creators that have done things with each other before to reconcile their differences. Because I'm a fan of hip hop. I'm just a fan. I don't like to see the beefs traveling on and they don't want to continue on. I love to see that when they could come together whenever, even if it's every 5 years, 8 years, or whatever. Man, come back, reconcile your differences, and give the fans what they want. Give the fans what they want. Business-wise, all three of them have done exceptionally well for themselves. So it's not a money thing. We know that. We know it's not a money thing. We know it's not a pride thing. They're all very heavily respected. They're all legends. Ice Cube is a legend. Dub C is a legend. Mac 10 is a legend. So I would love to see them have a conversation and just do it again. You know how many, let's talk about this before I get out of here. You know how many artists would want to be on that concert, like as a special feature? Like what Jay-Z did, he did his Reasonable Doubt night. He did his Blueprint night, and he brought out extra features. Imagine this. Imagine we got a Westside Connection Bow Down anniversary concert. Fuck it, let's do 2 days. Let's do 1 day at the Staples Center. Let's do 1 day at Dodger Stadium. Westside Connection anniversary of Bow Down concert. 1 day at the Staples Center. 1 day at Dodger Stadium. Let's make it 3 days. 1 day at the Forum. Let's do 3 days. Dodger Stadium, Staples Center, the Forum. Westside Connection anniversary of Bow Down. Think about the records they'll be performing. I started this gangster shh, and that's the thanks I get. What? Today was a good day. For life, back 10. Front, back, side to side, we be giving it up to the day we come on, Fuck what you said. Fuck who you telling. I'm only better with the 3-time felons. Come on. Bow down when they come to my town. Bow down when I'm westward bound. Penitentiary chick. It's so many records. Westward Ho, all that. Come on, man. Gangsters make the world go. Come on. When they gonna bring Snoop on stage, Ice Cube did an album with Too Short and E40. They doing records from there. Mac 10 doing records with Cash Money. Might bring some Cash Money brothers on stage. Dub C finna just go on and just do the Heisman. Go and do the whole album, Dub C. Do the whole album on stage. Do the whole album. Come on, man. That's what we need. Everybody on the West is waiting for a Westside Connection reunion. Let's go. Let's go. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. I'm not finna hold y'all too long, but let's talk about this in the comments. And, man, let's keep that conversation going, because if they can reconcile, we will get some legendary hip-hop energy that we so desperately need on the West Coast. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. Y'all already know what it is. Workload.